Hi, this is my third video in a series on how to improve your leaps. And as I was planning this video, I actually had something else in mind, but then I thought, there's a few mistakes that I haven't talked about, problems that come up when people are leaping. And the thing of it is these problems, they're not cosmetic problems, and it's really not about getting the notes or not getting the notes. These are problems that can lead to physical discomfort and even pain. And so I think they're really important. And so the first one is we want to make sure that when we're leaping, we're not leaving any fingers behind. So what that means is if you have a stretch, sometimes people will leap, and even if you do have a stretch, sometimes you want to let go. But sometimes somebody will try and reach with their fingers and then finally let go of the note when they can't hold on anymore. And this can lead to discomfort in the fifth finger that's holding, and it also can lead to discomfort in the thumb that's reaching. It also tightens up your forearm, because when you open your hand up, I need to scoot back to show you this. When you open your hand, it's using the muscles and tendons on top of your arm to stretch your hand. And so it tightens up the forearm, and it makes it harder physically to move. You can try this right now. If you go like this, without the hand stretched, now stretch your hand and do it. Can you feel the difference? So we don't want to do things that are going to tighten up our hand when we're trying to move. And so that's a really important aspect. Another important aspect is when we're changing ranges, when we're moving from across the piano and going in and out to white and black notes, it's very common to have to move from a white note into a black note. And so that leads me to the next thing, which is beyond stretching, sometimes we end up twisting our hand to get onto the black note, especially when that black note is played with the thumb, okay? Because essentially, when you're moving in short fingers onto short keys, it's really easy to twist. So something like this, somebody doesn't want to let go of the finger at the bottom. So those two things are related, not letting go and also twisting. But if we were to allow ourselves to move in on that second note and again on the third note, then we can move in comfortably and keep our hand aligned with our arm. So it's important to keep our hand and arm alignment as we're moving across the keys so that we don't cause strain in the wrist. And I'm going to show you an example, really good example from the Chopin Nocturnes. And there's tons of good examples in the Chopin Nocturnes of places where you have to learn to let go and also make sure you're not twisting as you're moving in. And so this is from the Chopin Nocturne. It's the 20th Nocturne, Opus Posthumous. It's in C sharp minor. Has some great examples of leaps, but you're going to find that in so many of the Chopin Nocturnes. So if you want to grab your music, you can do that, and you can try this out on your own. If you're not at your piano, you could even try this. Try along with me on your lap. So it starts like that, and then of course we have the melody. And this passage is actually perfect to demonstrate these two things that I want to point out. When you're playing a piece like this that has an open bass, which includes many of the nocturnes, a lot of times what will happen is you'll start to, after you practice it for a while, you may feel fatigue in your 1 or your 5. And if that happens, the chances are that you're stretching to get to the bottom note or the top note, and also you may have some pain in your wrist, and that's especially a telltale sign that you're twisting into the black note to get your thumb. So watch out for that. If you want to ask me how I know that, it's personal experience. So if by chance, I retrained my technique like 20 years ago, but I still have to think about that. And if I don't think about it, sometimes I do get a little symptom in those fingers. And so I realize, I got to pay attention to that. So what this looks like, if you're not doing this, it might look like this. So in other words, if you're stretching to your 1 or your 5, your position might look like this. A lot of times people will try not to let go of notes because they feel more secure if they hold on. So you might stretch over here, and also some people keep these fingers out flying, ready to go back down, which causes tension in your 5. So here I am stretching. And you get some bigger intervals, like if you go jump over to measure 18, it really does get big. Let me check those notes. So I've showed you the wrong way a few times. I would rather have you look at the right way to do this. Okay, so let's talk about what to do instead of stretching and twisting. And that is to try and keep your hand in a smaller position, even though it looks like we have some big reaches in the left hand, and we do. And so what we need to do is swing between them and let go of the notes as we go. In measure 5, you're here. So when you play your 5, your 2 is not over the G sharp. It moves, and right as it moves, you let go of the 5. And then we go over to this one. It's not connected, but it feels connected because it has an arm motion that's connected, and the timing is pretty quick. And as soon as I play one note, I let go of the hand and bring all the fingers along. So no fingers left behind there. And that works pretty well. Now the next one, in measure 5, we're going to go to a black note. So we were out here. See where my thumb is? My next spot, I'm going to have to be kind of here because I have a black note. So I may want to start moving in right there for the next chord. So I could still probably get rid of a little bit of stretching there. So anyway, okay, and one of the big intervals was when we get back to measure 18, when we go on to measure 18, we've got this kind of a big reach. Be sure and let go of the notes. Wrong note, sorry. And this one is a really big one when we go to the F double sharp. So here, I'm not gonna lie, that's a tricky one, okay? So we need to be thinking about, in measure 18, we have quite a leap. So that's something to think about. You really have to let go of this one when you go to that one, and then we have to go in. You may want to work your way in, because this would be a place where somebody would really have a tendency to twist their wrist as they go over. So this piece is not easy. By the way, my wrist feels a little weird just from doing that. And you can use the pedal to cover it. You saw what I did just there. I'm sure you heard that. So. And this is the classic open bass. So if you're playing something like this and you start to have symptoms in your 1 and 5, or even in between, like if you're stretching over to your 2, like the interval of a 5th, or this interval is a bit of a stretch, and it can cause a little bit of tension in your hand. So that one is really, I'm going to try going inside a little bit more. So this is a tricky piece in terms of that, of avoiding the stretch in the left hand, and you may even consider a different fingering if this doesn't work for you. So if you're trying to make these shifts and rotate over and release the notes and your hand still feels stretched or uncomfortable, then you may have to do an alternative fingering. So a possible alternative fingering might be, instead of trying to play your 2 in the middle, or if you have a small hand, you may have to do something different, something like this. With a pedal, you can make it work. Here, maybe a crossover to keep your hand basically feeling small and make it comfortable. The operating principle here is that it needs to feel comfortable in your hand, and when you get done practicing, you don't want to feel fatigued or pain. So those are things to think about, especially if you're teaching like a young student who's advanced and they're 9 or 10 years old. They're probably not going to be able to make that rotation over and release the fingers. It's probably just not going to fit in their hand. So you'll want to adapt that for them. You can do a lot with the pedal. One other example, since we're talking about alternative fingerings in nocturnes. In the first nocturne in B flat, the middle section gives people trouble with stretching, and some of these I couldn't do, and so I changed it at my teacher's direction. So here, where you have this little business where you're going, some people try and stretch, and that was unwieldy for me. So, but some of them I could do. So it really depended on the interval that I was dealing with. So you want to just figure it out for each chord, what's going to work for you. So anyway, keep that in mind as you're working on these. It's got to be comfortable in your hand.